Hey everybody, it's Elliott with Touchstone Financial Education, and today's podcast I have a special guest. Her name is Luann, and we are going to be discussing the mindset of a successful investor. And she is a performance coach, and we're going to run through some ideas on how you can remain successful as an investor, or if you're a beginning investor, how you can start with the proper mindset, because the markets don't always go straight up. So we want to be prepared for any contingency that comes our way. Luann, thank you for joining me today, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Elliott. It's my pleasure to be here today, and kind of an honor, actually. I've worked with mindset and transformation for over 20 years, and it ultimately ends up coming into all parts of our life. One of them being exactly this topic, investing and finance. And so I working with the programs of the subconscious mind, as well as I am actually a certified coach. There's only a few of us in the world, actually. So lots of different variety, but I think this is actually a really important topic because it affects all parts of our life.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump right in here and let's discuss kind of the mindset, or a framework, if you will, for investors, whether they be beginners, intermediate, or more experienced. What kind of things would constitute, let's say, the first steps somebody should take?
Really good question, because it's often when people are coming into this field, they might not always have a lot of experience in it, more interest and a desire. And in that particular case, it's actually really good to be able to just have a good framework and guidelines to follow. And that's learning what those frameworks and guidelines are. And that would be about setting up the rules, actually taking a really clear picture of what is reality for ourselves, like what really is my situation, sort of what are my limits, what's my capability. But then following those guidelines as to be able to, perform through the difficult situations, so we stay on track and we don't get distracted by things that come up, which will always come up, especially in this particular field.
Absolutely. So if we were just kind of whittle this down and come up with one concrete step, what would be the first step you think folks should take?
Well, first of all, have an accurate assessment of where am I at? What's my, what are my resources? What's my depth of knowledge? What do I have to learn? And what are the things that are helping me in this particular endeavor, but also what's going to be getting in my way? Like, we have to be able to anticipate. Not everything's going to just roll out perfectly. What's going to kind of jump up and take us off track? It's really important to be aware of that. But I think by being really realistic and saying, this is where I'm at, that's the very first part. But from there is gathering that information on that framework, like setting those rules, and from there, setting your plan, like getting really familiar with those rules, those guidelines, and then stepping into the next step. So how am I going to integrate this?
Absolutely. So we want to go ahead and plan first, right? I mean, that just sounds kind of like what it is. And would we plan to, let's say, in investing language, if you will, would we plan to our risk profile, or how would we go about doing it?
Well, to your risk profile, but also your level of knowledge. And what is it you need to learn? But also, this is about where, when the plan comes in, it's helping you get everything, having everything in a framework that you can easily execute, because success is in the execution. We can have the greatest plan, but if we don't execute properly, we kind of hooped ourselves there. And I kind of have used this. It reminds me of, if I'm baking something, I need to get all the ingredients. I need to know what's the timing it's going to take, and what's it going to look like, when it comes out. Is it going to meet the needs? Is there something I have to pay attention to along the way, so that I can execute properly? Otherwise, if I don't plan, I could be going out to the store every however often, one ingredient at a time, and it's just not going to work out as well.
Absolutely. So we first create that plan, follow those rules, and then, like you had mentioned, the execution component within that framework, right? But are we also open to, let's say, maybe changing our rules along the way as our circumstance change, or maybe as we learn more?
Well, yes, and that's where the framework comes in. And I think this is where also practice comes in, especially in this particular field, like practicing paper trading.
Very good.
And recognizing, so what are the situations that come up that deviate us from what we